Hey there fellow Unity devs, and welcome to episode 8 of making a 2D bullet hell game in Unity. Now, in this tutorial we're going to take a look at how we can control the spawning of our enemies. So, let's jump right in. So the way that spawning is going to work is we're going to want to spawn one of our car types at a certain location, and we're going to want the delay before we spawn the next enemy. So, let's go into our bullet hell game manager. Now at the bottom here, we're going to want to make a new class called spawn action. So we'll go public class spawn action. So inside spawn action, we're going to have a public car type enemy, and this is going to be the variable which holds the kind of car that we're going to spawn. Then we're going to have a public vector3 coord, and this is going to be the location where we're going to spawn it. Then we'll have a public float delay, and this is going to be the delay in seconds before we spawn the next enemy. So then we're going to need a constructor for this. So we'll go public spawn action, and we'll put our variables in here. Okay, so currently we're going to be spawning cars, but later we'll be able to change car type to anything that we want to spawn. Okay, so let's go into the top of our script here, and let's make a list of spawn actions. So we'll create a new public static list of spawn action. We'll call it spawn actions. And let's initialize it with some variables. So we'll go equals new list of spawn action. Put our brackets there and put some curly brackets in. Then in here we'll go new spawn action car type dot muscle. So this will be the car that we're spawning. We'll put the position as a new vector3. We'll put this -6 and 12. And then the delay for this one will be 1.5. So let's copy that, make a second one. This one's going to be spawned at 5f and -12. And the delay for this one will be 0.4. So we're going to have one that spawns at the top of the map, and we're going to have one that spawns at the bottom of the map. And you can see now we're going to be able to control our spawns very easily. So next what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to load our various enemies as prefabs. So when we're loading things like prefabs and textures and so on through our scripts, we tend to use the resources.load function. And what this is going to do is it's going to load from a resources folder in assets. So let's go into our editor here. We'll right click and create a new folder. We'll call this resources. And in here, we'll create a new folder called prefabs. And here is where we'll store the prefabs themselves. So let's make one prefab for our muscle car. We'll call this muscle. And let's make a second one for the biker. And let's drag our enemy in. And we can just drag that over there like that. So in the inspector here we'll want to set the biker as car type biker and the muscle as car type muscle. Okay, perfect. So now that we've got our prefabs created, let's go back into our bullet hell game manager script. And just like we made a dictionary for our car data and for our movesets, we can make a dictionary for our prefabs. So at the top here, let's make a new public static dictionary. And the key is going to be your car type. And the value is going to be game object. We'll call this car prefab dictionary. Now, since we're going to be calling resources.load, we'll actually want to initialize this in our await function. So over here we'll go car prefab dictionary equals new. Let the autocorrect do that first. Put our brackets there, put some curly brackets in, and open them. So in here we'll do it like this. We'll go car type dot muscle. And then we'll go resources.load type game object, and then we'll want to pass the path in as a parameter here. So we'll go prefabs/muscle, and then we'll want to go as game object, and then we'll copy that for our second one. Here we'll change this to biker, and we'll change the biker here as well. So currently you may not see the point in this because our two prefabs are almost identical, but later on we'll be adding more variances between the two prefabs, so this will be really handy to have. Okay, so there's one more thing before we get to the spawning code. In our game, we want cars to be able to come from both the top and from the bottom of the level. So let's go into our bullet hell car here, and let's add a new enum. So we'll go public enum direction, and here we'll only have two values. We'll have up and down, and then we'll actually want to make a direction variable for this in our car. So we'll go public direction direction, and in our game by default all things will be pointing up. So we'll go equals direction not up for our default direction. And one little thing that we can do here is, because this is public, this variable is going to appear in our inspector. But we want to change this through our scripts only. So what we can do is to hide this in the inspector, we can go use the hide in inspector tag, and this means it'll be hidden. Okay, so we got prefabs for our vehicles, we got a class for our spawn action, and we have our direction. So let's go ahead and make a new class called bullet hell spawner. So I'll go here, we'll right click create, bullet hell spawner. And to start here, we'll just have create a spawn function. So we'll go private void spawn, and we're going to take a spawn action as a parameter. Okay, so what we'll want to do is we'll want to instantiate a game object like we would regularly, except this time the prefab is going to come from our car prefab dictionary in bullet hell game manager. So what we'll do is we'll go game object instance equals instantiate, and here we'll pass in the prefab. So we'll go bullet hell game manager dot car prefab dictionary, and here will be the spawn action dot enemy, and here for the position we'll go spawn action dot chord, and for our rotation we'll just do quaternion dot identity. Okay, and here is where we're going to want to set our direction as well, since this is where we'll be spawning it. So we know that if a car is spawned above the 0, 0 point, which is the center of our game world, that's going to be coming from the top. And if it's spawned below the 0, 0 point, it's going to be coming from the bottom. So let's use this knowledge to change the car's direction. So what we'll go is if spawn action dot chord is dot y is greater than 0. So we'll go instance dot get component bullet hell car dot direction equals bullet hell car dot direction dot down, and then we'll actually want to rotate it. So we'll do instance dot game object dot transform dot rotate 0, 0, 180. So it's going to get flipped by 180 degrees. Okay, so we have our spawn function done. Next, we're going to want to loop through the spawn actions that we made in our bullet hell game manager, and it's going to be very similar to how we loop through the moveset for our enemy. So let's make a few variables at the top here. We'll want a spawn action, current action, to represent the current spawn that we're doing. Then we're going to want a int spawn action index. Then we're going to have a time, so we're to float last spawn time. So these variables have pretty much identical equivalents to how we made our moveset. However, after all the enemies spawn, we want to stop spawning, otherwise it'll be an infinite loop. So we'll want another boolean here called has all spawn. So we'll do bool has all spawn, and by default we want this to be false. So just like our bullet hell enemy, we'll also initialize the first action inside the start method, and we'll have to spawn the first one here too. So let's set our current action. So our current action will be current action equals bullet hell game manager dot spawn actions, and it'll be the 0th index, and then we'll want to spawn it. So we'll do spawn current action. Okay, so let's save ourselves a little bit of time here. Let's go into bullet hell enemy, where we loop through the moveset, and let's copy this code out. And let's paste it into the update function for our spawner. So there's a few things that we're going to need to change here. So let's go ahead and replace move start time with last spawn time, and we'll do it down here as well. We'll change current move dot duration. We'll change this to current action dot delay, and over here we'll set current move is going to be our bullet hell game manager spawn actions, and we'll replace our move index with spawn action index, and I'll do that over here as well. And we'll replace this thing over here as well. Now, like I mentioned, we don't want our index to loop back to 0. We actually want our spawner to finish spawning once all the things have spawned. So what I'll do here is we'll replace this with has all spawned equals true, and then we'll return out of our function. Now we'll actually want to add another line here at the top of our update function. So we want to prevent it from going into this block if everything is spawned. So we'll do if has all spawned, we'll return again. And just one thing that we actually forgot to add here is we'll copy our spawn function on line 14 here, and once we set our current action in the update function, we'll actually want to spawn an enemy. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's our spawning code done. Now let's take a look at our spawn actions. So we have one card that's going to be spawned at the top, and one card that's going to be spawned at the bottom. But the way that we currently have it, the card that's spawned at the top is going to continue traveling upwards since we haven't changed the acceleration or velocities. So let's fix that. Let's go into our bullet hell enemy. Now in the start function, what we'll actually do is, so if our direction is down, we'll want to flip our acceleration. So we'll go if direction equals direction.down. We'll go acceleration multiplied equals -1. Actually, we'll make that acceleration.x. We'll copy and paste that, and we'll change this to y. Okay, so that's pretty much the code done for spawning. Okay, so let's go into our scene now, and let's change a few things around. First of all, we're going to get rid of our two enemies. Then we're going to want to create a new object. We'll call this spawner, and we'll attach the bullet hell spawner script. Then, for this demo purpose, we'll want to get rid of our walls. So let's see what happens. So now we have one enemy coming from top and traveling down, and we have one enemy coming from the bottom and traveling up. So this kind of way, it'll be really easy for us to make multiple enemies. Okay, so in this episode, we made a script for spawning things. We used resources.load to load our prefabs, and we made it possible for cars to come from both the top and the bottom of our level. So in the next episode, we'll be covering despawning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.